Okay, we're on 89A, and we are about a quarter of the way down the page. Um, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, about 15 lines down or so, in the middle of the line. So we had left off yesterday with some midrashim about the schus of Avraham Avinu and how he was rewarded, and we continue in that vein. Amar Rabbi Yochanan Mishum B'Elazar Rabbi Shimon. Whenever you find Rabbi Elazar, the son of Rabbi Yossi Aglili, saying something in Agada, listen closely, like put a tin cup to your ear. Um, here's one thing he said. We read this in the Parsha last Shabbos. Not because of your greater or more numerous perhaps than all the other nations. That's not why God chose you. It continues, you're the smallest of all the peoples. What's Hashem saying? Choshkani bachem, I want you. Shafilu b'shoshani mashpia lechem gedula atem mamitin latzmechem lefanai. Even when I give you greatness, you're humble. You shrink yourselves, as it were. Nasati gedula Avram. For example, I gave greatness to Avram. God promised Abraham all these things. He's going to be a great nation. Later, Abraham says when he's in the negotiations on Sodom, I'm nothing. I'm dirt and dust. Most of Aaron Amru, I gave them Moshe Aaron. I gave greatness to Moshe and Aaron. Amru, they said V'nachnu ma when I think it's from the incident with Korach, right? When V'nachnu ma ki Allah aleinu tzlun aschem ki al Hashem. That's for somewhere else. Um, but whatever, I don't remember where it's from. But one of the times that Moshe said to the people, "Me and Aaron, what are we? Like, don't get hung up on us. It's really between you and God." LaDavid, I gave greatness to David. Amar v'anochi tolas felish. I'm a worm and not even a man. Of the Kochavim Anakim, but non-idol worshippers are the opposite. Nasati Gedul Nimrod, I gave Nimrod greatness. He was a great king. Amar Havanivnu Lanir, and what did he do? He got so full of himself he wanted to build the Migdal Bavel. The Paro, I gave greatness to Paro. Amar Mi Hashem. Paro says, "Who is God that I should listen to him? I'm more important." Sancheriv, I gave greatness to Sancheriv. Amar Mi B'chol Elohei Haratzos. He said to, was it to Chizkiah? He said, like, don't think that you're going to be spared from me because, like, don't think that God will help you because which god of any other country saved them from me? I conquered everybody. When Nebuchadnezzar he gave greatness to Nebuchadnezzar. Amar El Bama Seav. He said, I will ride over the top of the clouds. So he's also full of himself. L'chiram melech tsar. I gave greatness to Chiram. Amar Moshe Elohim Yashafti B'lev Yamim. I sit in God's seat in God's seat in the heart of the seas. Okay. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rava said, maybe Rabbi Yochanan said it. Gadol shenemar b'Moshe v'Aaron Yosef v'Moshe never v'Avram. The when talking about the humility of Moshe and Aaron, it says greater things about that than about Avram. What does this mean? Avram said, "I'm dirt and dust." What are we? We are nothing, right? So we're even less than dirt and dust. So they were more self-abnegating than Abraham. The whole world exists because of Moshe Aaron. Because they said, "What are we?" This is a pasuk which we reference in the Yom Naran davening. You may recognize it from there. God who hangs the earth, suspends the earth on nothing, right? And bli ma. So that ma is like a link to v'nachnu ma. So the drash is the world is suspended or hangs on the ma of nachnu ma, the humility of Moshe Aaron. Amar Bilah, Enel Mishkaim El Bishvil Misha Shabo Lemas Asmo B'Shas Mariva. This the Belima is now understood in a different midrash. Um, the world hangs on someone who muzzles himself during an argument. Okay, the Belima and the Bolame is the play on words here. Shenemar Toler Sablima. Rabbi Avo Amar, Misha Mesim Atzmo Kamisha Eno. The world exists because of someone who makes himself as if he doesn't exist. Shenamar Umitachos Ro'os Olam. Um, the um, below, and below it are the world's arms. So what it seems to be saying is that um, those who are tachas, those who are allow themselves to be, underneath, downtrodden, are those that hold up the world. They're the Zroa Solam, the arms of the world. Amar Yitzchak, Ma'edichsiv ha'umnam ilem tzedek tudaberun meisharim tishpetu bnei adam. Pasuk says, is there silence? You should speak about tzidkus, about righteousness, and judge people with straightforwardly, meisharim, with straight. They should judge people straight. Um, what does this mean? What is a person's so the word umnam is understood here as what is the person's profession? What's a person's work in this world? Yasim atzmo ki'ilim. You should make yourself like a mute person. Yachalach l'divrei Torah. In other words, you shouldn't be confrontational. Maybe you should also be silent in divrei Torah. Talmud tzedek tedaberu. No, you should speak tzedek. You should speak righteousness. Yachal yagis dato. Maybe you should, be full of yourself. Talmud lomar meisharim tishpetu bnei adam. You should judge people properly with justice, with meisharim. What's a good translation? Equity translates here. I don't know, but you get the idea. Rav Zera v'Timur Rav Bar Yirmiyah. Rav Zera says, the Ira says, Mechasin ba'afar ira nidachas. Back to covering blood. Kiso yadam. You can use the dirt of an ira nidachas. Ira nidachas is a city of idol worshippers that had to be destroyed, and you can't use anything there you can't get hana for anything there, but you can use its dirt to cover the blood. V'amai, Gemara says, why? Yisrael nahu. They shouldn't be allowed to get hana from it. Amar zirei, on isracha el afar afar. Now, we're not talking about the loose dirt on top. We're talking about like the hard surface. That is not subject to the rules of Ira Nidachas. If you have to, dig up the ground, that's not part of the cherem on Ira Nidachas. You should gather all its things into the square and burn it. Okay, so only things that are ready to be gathered into the square to be burned, those are the things that are subject to the ban, to the cherem of Iranidachas. But if you have to dig it up first, that's not something that's subject to the Iranidachas. Yes, it excludes something that first has to be dug up. Rav Amar, mitzvahs level henasinu. Rav has a different reason. It's just no, that's not the problem here. That's not the reason you can use dirt from your nidachas. You can use the dirt for covering blood because it's for a mitzvah. You're not getting any benefit from it other than the mitzvah itself, and the mitzvah is not considered hana. Yosef Ravinu Kamal Hashmata. Ravinu was teaching this. Esvei Ravinu asked him, Shofar Shalom Avodas Kochavim Loitkaba. We have a mission that says you should not use the shofar of Avodas Kochavim. My la avim taka leyatza. So doesn't that mean that if you did use it, you're not yotze? So then, wouldn't you why? What hana are you getting from it? Why should you not be yotze with shofar of your nidah? Looks like maybe doing the mitzvah is hana, and that's why you're not. That's why you're not allowed to do it. So Ravina answered, "No, not so." In Takayasa, you're wrong. You're not supposed to use a shofar of Avodah Zarah. If you did use it, you're yosei because there's no hana involved. But it's not it's unseemly to use something of Avodah Zarah, I would say, especially for a mitzvah. Now, another question. Lulav shel avodas kochavim lo. You shouldn't take a lulav that was from avodas kochavim. My lavim not yasa. Same question. Does that mean that you're not yotze? And does that be even though there's no hana in using a lulav, just the mitzvah? So doesn't it look like that that doing of the mitzvah is considered hana? So Gemara says, "Lo, im not yasa." Actually, you are yotze. So why not use it again? Because it's unseemly. Vatanya takal yasa not yasa. But Rumi says, but we have a brisa that says you aren't yotze. Ravashi hachi hashta. What? So you're going to compare lulav and shofar to kisei adam? Hasam shiura bina. In the case of lulav and shofar, you have a minimum measure, right? How big does the shofar have to be? How big does the lulav have to be? And if something is judged to be an item of avodah zarah, then we consider it as it has no shear. It's like it doesn't have any substance to it. If it's so, it's not just an Isser Hana, but halachically, it's considered as if it's not there. So it's lacking the shear. The shofar isn't big enough. The lulav isn't big enough because it's halachically diminished because of the use for avodah zarah. But in the case of kisei adam, it's actually better if it has no shear, right? The more fine it's more finely it's ground, the better off you are, right? Because our Mishnah had said that only finely ground stuff is used for can be used for kisei adam. So, let it be avodah zarah. Like let it be nullified in terms of its shear. That's actually fine for kisei adam. Okay. Kisei adam. We move on to the next parak of Gid Hanasha. Gid Hanasha nog ba'aretz v'chutz la'aretz. So the rule of Gid Hanasha is this. I think it's understood as the sciatic nerve in the rear parts of the animal is forbidden to be eaten. And this applies, the Mishnah says, in both in Eretz Yisrael and outside of Eretz Yisrael, b'fnei bayis, shelo b'fnei bayis, whether or not the Beis Hamikdash is standing, b'chulin u'b'mikdashim, whether it's unsanctified or sanctified animals, v'noig b'behema v'chaya, domesticated and wild animals, and b'yerech shel yamin v'yerech shel shmol, both hind legs, left and right. V'ein noig b'of doesn't apply to birds, b'nei she'ein lo kaf, because they don't have when the Torah talks about the original Gid Hanasha issue where Yaakov was injured, it says Kinaga b'chaf yerach Yaakov b'Gid Hanasha. He was injured on his thigh. So there's like a rounded kaf is a spoon, right? But so it's a spoon shaped or a rounded kind of piece of whatever of meat on the thigh where the Gid Hanasha is, but a bird doesn't have that, so it doesn't apply. V'noag b'shlil applies to a fetus. Rabbi Yehuda Omer en noag b'shlil. Rabbi Yehuda says no. V'chel bo mutar, the chelev around it is permitted. V'en hadavachim nemanim al Gid Hanasha. That's the chaylev, not of the animal, because the chaylev of the animal is not permitted, but the chaylev of the fetus. So if you have, as we've seen before, if you have a fetus, it may or may not be considered an independent animal regarding shchita and so on. So here, this machlokes is about the the Gid Hanasha of the fetus. Is it considered the Gid Hanasha of the fetus and it's asur, or is it a non-Gid Hanasha part of the mother and it's mutar? And you can't trust a butcher when he says he took out the Gid Hanasha. That's what Rameir says. No, you can trust the butcher if he tells you the Gid Hanasha is removed and if he tells you the chaylev is removed. Okay, so a lot of things to unpack in this Mishnah. Let's see what the Gemara has to say. Mukdashim Pshita. So one thing in the Mishnah was it applies to Chullin and Kodesh, right? But obviously, Mishum Da'akdashay Pakla Yisr Gid. Like this animal started out as Chullin. The Gid Hanasha was Asr. Now because you make it Hekdesh, you're going to say now the Gid Hanasha is Mutter. Makes no sense. V'chitema, so what are you going to say? Yesh Begidim B'no same time that the Gid Hanasha has its own flavor. The Asi Isur Mukdashin V'chayla Isur Gid, and so what the Mishnah is telling us is that that you're chayav for both. If you eat, so first of all, you have the gitanasha, and then you have, and then on top of that, when you make it kodesh, um, you um, you add on the isur of 1 second of yes, you'd be getting benefit from the Git Hanasha. The Git Hanasha gives flavor to the surrounding parts of the animal, right? So then when you eat the surrounding parts of the animal, you're and well, um, 1 second. I guess I think it means that the flavor within the Git Hanasha is also subject to the Isur of eating hekdesh, of eating something that's kodesh. So you get both problems. So maybe that's the thing that the Mishnah is saying, but no, we can't say that because Haimukdashin Noeg Begid Mevaile. Then it's worded wrong. It would have said not that what the Mishnah actually said was Bechulin Uvu Mukdashin, which sounds like exactly how we explained it. That the Gid Anasha applies to uh, the Gid of an animal, whether it is Chulin or Kodesh. But if it's trying to say that you add one onto the other, you would the Mishnah would have said that would have phrased it that way that that the Isser of Kachim applies to the Gid Hanasha as well. So El Kasavar in beginning of those time. We're gonna say that no, the Gid does not have its own flavor. Uva Mukdashin Isur Gid Ika Isur Mukdashin Leka. That there's what it's telling you is that there's only one Isur, right? That when you eat the Gid and Asha of a hekdesh animal, you're only over on the Gid and not on hekdesh. So the Gemara says, well, wait a minute. For Savar Tana Didan and beginning Benosin Tam, you want to say that our Tana holds that the Gid has no taste of Vatznan, but we have a Mishnah. Yerech Shenisbashal Bag Gid Hanasha. If you have the hindquarters of an animal that was cooked together with the Gid Hanasha in it, im Yesh Babenosin Tam, if there is if there's enough meat there that it can accept the flavor from the Gid Hanasha, Harezu Asura. So it's forbidden. So it seems like this Mishnah seems to say that there is there is no Sintam Begid. So the Gemara goes back to what it wanted to say in the first time, that the Gid Hanasha takes precedence over the Kachim. Not takes precedence, but also applies to Kachim, which we said was obvious. Alacha bivlados Kachim was askina. You know why it's not obvious? We're talking about you have a hektish animal that gives birth to another animal. V'kasavar noeg b'shlil. Not that it gives birth, but it has a fetus. The kasavar noeg b'shlil, and our Mishnah holds that the Gid Hanasha applies to the fetus. The kasavar v'lados kashim b'meimim hen kadoshim, and that this fetus has a status of kachim. It doesn't have a separate status. The Easter Gid v'Easter mukdashim b'hadei adadei kase. So here you don't have the question of, well, it's obvious that if it started out as Chullin and then became Kodesh, why would it lose the status of Gid Hanasha? Why would it lose that Isur? That makes no sense. But here, they both come at the same time. Both the Isur of Gid and the Isur of Hekdesh comes at the same time, because as it's formed in the womb, the Gita Nasha is also hektish. Okay, so it's like so you can't say in this case that it was always Gita Nasha and now it also becomes Hektish. No, it's both as it develops, as it grows a Gita Nasha, it's also growing, it's also Hektish at the time. So that's why the Mishnah has to tell you that it applies to both Chulin and Kach. So now the Gemara says, really, you're going to talk about, you're saying that the beginning of the Mishnah is talking about a fetus. No, it's later in the Mishnah we start talking about a fetus. Don't tell me that when it says Chulin Umu Mukdashim, we're talking about a fetus. We bring up the fetus issue later in the Mishnah. Bichlal the Rachel see that we're not talking about Shlil yet in the beginning of the Mishnah. So Gemara says Hachikamer. This is how to read the Mishnah. Davar Zeh Machlokas Rabbi Yehuda Rabbanan. When it says knowing b'chulin uvim then later the Mishnah was saying, and you know what? It's not that everybody holds knowing b'chulin mikdashin. It's subject to the machlokas about shlil between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbanan. So in other words, when it talks about the shlil, it's referring back to the earlier part of the Mishnah, which we're now discussing. Okay, so let's look at this idea a little more closely. Excuse me, that the Gid Hanasha, as it forms, it's already hektish. But we have a Mishnah. Al elu tumos hanazir megalech. What tuma does a nazir is not allowed to become tame? If he does become tame, then he has to shave and start over again. So what kind of tuma? Al ames, vel kazayis min ames. On a dead body for touching a dead body and becoming tummy that way, or a kazayas of the flesh of a dead body. For kashalan, and we have the question on that. Al kazayas minamez megalech. Al kulo lo kol shekain. Like, why tell us both things? If you just say al kazayas minames, then obviously if you have a whole dead body, that's included in at least a kazayas. So Rabbi Yochanan answered, what are we talking about? We're talking about a fetus that it hadn't formed yet. Its limbs and sinews had not yet formed yet. It's still subject to this tuma, or it's still the kind of tuma that makes a nazir have to do interrupt his nazirus. Alma, Easter Mukdashin Kadim. So we see that that there can be sinews after, like the sinews develop later on. It's not that they become they're not considered fully connected or formed yet. It's not considered a Gid Hanasha until later in its development. So don't tell me that as the Gid Hanasha grows, it's already hektish. So the answer is okay, but Afal Gav the Isra Mukdashim Kadim. So okay, so fine. You've shown me that the fetus was first hektish and then grew its Gid. But even that's the case, Sheken Yisura Noig Bivnei Noach. Asi Isur Gid Chayil. Still, the Isur of Gid Hanasha is added on to the Isur of Hekdesh because Shekan Isur Noig Bivnei Noach. It's stricter, right? The Hekdesh is considered a minor infraction, and the Gid Hanasha is a greater infraction because it also, how do I know that? Because it also applies to non-Jews, right? It's so strict that also applies to non-Jews. So it's even stricter than the Isur of Hektish. That's why you can add it on to like, not only is this Hektish, but now we also have a worse thing that it's also Gid Hanasha. So Gemara doesn't like that. Whose idea was that? Rabbi Yehuda. So the local Rabbi Yehuda, but our Mishnah is not like Rabbi Yehuda. Katane, noig b'behemo b'chaya. Our Mishnah says that the Gid Hanasha applies to domesticated and wild animals, Yarech Shalimin, Yarech Small, and both the right and left legs. But Rabbi Yehuda says it doesn't apply to both. Rabbi Yehuda says only one leg. So Gemara says Haitano several Kachado. Okay, so he holds like Rabbi Yehuda about the Isur, that it's an Isur for Bnei Noach. Rabbi Yehuda holds that, but our Tana doesn't hold like Rabbi Yehuda that it only applies to one leg. It applies to both legs. So our Tana has inconsistent positions, but at least it's not well, inconsistent in the sense that they're not both Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. If it were Rabbi Yehuda, then you'd have to say, well, he has these two opinions, and only one of them accords with the Mishnah. But if it's another party, you say, okay, he holds like Rabbi Yehuda about this, and not about that. So Gemara says, wait, Eimer Deshama Sleilu Rabbi Yehuda B'Tmeya Di Isur Lav. So you want to tell me that that Gid Hanasha is a worse Isur than Kachim because it applies to Bnei Noach, but it's just a love. Kachim, the Isur Kares, Mishamaslay. Okay, but Kachim, don't tell me that Kachim is a lighter Isur than Gid Hanasha, because look, it has Kares, and Gid Hanasha is only a love. So it's ridiculous to say that that the that Gid Hanasha is a stricter Isur, and therefore it can be applied to something that's already Kachim. Kachim already has an Isur Kares, so don't tell me now you can add on an Isur of a Lav. That makes no sense. Um, so the Gemara ends up as follows: Elahacha b'mevakeres askina. We're talking about a an animal that's chol, giving birth to a bechor. Okay, the Berechem Kadosh. So a Bechor is Kodesh by the nature of its being a Bechor, right? So as it is developing in the womb, it's already a Bechor, or has the status of a Bechor. So in that case, we can say that it develops, that it applies, like it was never. Yes, the Kodshim Isur and the Gid Isur do come at the same time. In the case of a Bechor, and that's what our mission is talking about. Or you could answer, Velados Kachim Bavayasan Hen Kadoshim. You could say that in general, it's not just Bechor. The child of an animal that's Kachim, they become Kodesh when they are born. Okay, so we've been saying, well, the Gid Hanasha develops while it's already Kodesh. No, maybe not. Maybe the fetus is not considered Kodesh as an independent entity. It only becomes Kodesh once it's born. So then you have two separate processes by which these two different Isurim are applied. Amar Rabbi Bar Yosef, Lo shanu ela kachim hanechalim. The Gid Hanasha applying to kachim is only about kachim that, excuse me, that you can eat. Kachim kalim, basically. Kachim she'enan nechalim, but kachim kadashim, which you can't eat, like an ola. Well, no, it's not. Sorry, that's not the right categorization. But there are kachim that you can eat and that you can't eat. So kachim that you can't eat, like an ola, ein isur gid nog behen. Doesn't have an isur of gid. If you eat the gid from that animal, Gid Hanasha Isur doesn't apply. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, Echa Kashim Nechalim Vecha Kashim Shein Nechalim. No, the Gid Isur applies to Isur Gid Noig Behen. It applies to both to all kinds of Kashim. Amar Papa V'lo Plige. They're not really arguing. Kan Lahal Koso. One is regarding should you get Makos. Kan Lahal Loso. Or one is talking about whether you can if the Gid is separate, should you bring it to the put it on the mizbeach. So so they agree that you do put the you do put the gid with the rest of the animal on the mizbeach, but you can't eat it. Or some say, Amar Papa said, why is it not a machlokas? Kan l'chalso. Wakan lahaloso. Oh, is it? It's talking about whether you can remove it from the animal before you put it on a mizbeach, or can you? So can you remove it from the animal before you bring it onto the mizbeach? No, you cannot. You're supposed to burn the whole thing. But the other, so that's for Rav Chia Bar Yosef, but Rav Yochanan would say kan lahalo. So we're talking about if the gid was removed, should you burn it separately on the mizbeach? And the answer to that is no. And they both agree. Rav Nachman Yitzchak Amar, another opinion is lahalosa pligate. No, they're talking about whether you can bring it onto the mizbeach. They're actually arguing over that, whether you have to remove the gid before you burn it on the mizbeach. So now we're going to spend a little time analyzing that, how we figure that out. The Tanya, we have a brisa. V'iktir hakohen sakol mizbecha. The kohen, 1 second. I think we're going too far here, right? Yes. Let's leave this. We'll leave this for David to pick up tomorrow. I got carried away with myself here. So we will stop here for today. Okay. Have a good day.
Have a good day.